You'd be looking at essentially a real estate from the ground up. You'd be looking at it from the physical side in terms of, does this space make sense? Can they rent it? Will they rent it? How long will it take them to rent it? How much rent can they achieve for the space? To existing leases where you look and see if they leave, should they leave when their lease expires in 6 months? Will they be paying more? Will they be paying less? How will it impact the value of the shopping center? And so and that's just what you're doing in the office. Then when you go out of the office, you'd probably be looking at the subject property itself. You'd be inspecting the property, you'd be walking through a mall, you'd be going through a power center, you'd be looking at access points, you'd be looking at visibility, you'd be looking at exposure to traffic, you'd be looking at locational benefits, competitive analysis to see if there's adjoining shopping centers that may be cannibalizing some of the sales, if there's any new proposed developments that may cannibalize sales over the next 2 to 3 years, how is that going to impact market rent growth. So you're out there, you're kind of on the ground looking at real estate outside the office, you're inspecting it, you're getting a sense of the qualitative aspects of what a good shopping center looks like and what a bad shopping center looks like, because you'll inevitably end up looking at a shopping center that's doing very, very well, sales are very high, you see how it's the traffic flows inside the shopping center, how the units are demised, and then you go to another shopping center where the sales aren't so good and it's not doing very well, and you can visually just get a sense of why this center isn't working, why there's no traffic in the mall, why the quality of tenants in one center versus another center, how that impacts value. So it's basically inside and outside of the office. You're in constant touch with real estate, and then on top of that, you'd probably be calling municipalities, you'd be calling zoning departments to find out what's happening. Once you've driven the neighborhood and you've looked at the shopping center physically, if you have any questions as to why there's a big sign to the left of this building saying redevelopment proposal's been submitted, what that proposal is and how that may impact the real estate. Well, I've always been interested in real estate. A number of my friends and I guess university colleagues had either families in real estate or eventually became part of the real estate infrastructure, so to speak. And real estate to me has always been the last frontier in terms of the Canadian economy that's truly entrepreneurial, and it requires a lot of skill and a lot of knowledge. And it's one of those areas where you have to understand real estate, you have to get, for lack of a better term, dirt under your nails. You have to go out and you have to see real estate to understand why it's successful, why it's not successful. The big turn on for me in real estate is, as an appraiser, I get to see almost every major deal, especially with the firm I'm with, that takes place in Canada. We're talking the largest investment deals in the country. Internationally, we've been involved in some acquisitions of assets, Canadian assets by international companies. So on any given week, I could be dealing with people from Germany, the UK, America. It's an incredible feeling to be at the top of your industry, and as I said, I think real estate is the truly last bastion of true entrepreneurialism, because there's not that formal market segmentation, stock exchange, so to speak, where you're regulated. A lot of it's just who's got the brain power to identify or look at an opportunity and see something that someone else doesn't see. And so one of the things I enjoy is benefiting from the wisdom of a lot of people that are in the industry and looking at the way they've structured deals and understanding how real estate works. It's the ability to communicate the qualitative aspect and the quantitative aspect of real estate simultaneously. It's when you talk about yields and when you talk about market values and being able to relate that knowledge to people and speak a common language. I think a lot of people in the real estate world, at times there's a disconnect between buyers, sellers, and I think bridging that gap at times is probably the most intellectually challenging, because you have to be able to convey long-term, short-term economic trends, value on property, major market impacts, minor impacts, relating to that property. And I think being able to do that on a consistent basis is important. And I think, to me, that's the most intellectually challenging, is conveying the knowledge that you have as an ACI to the reader of your report or the reader of your consulting report. It's being able to look at a deal without knowing the value going in. If it's a major acquisition or if it's a major portfolio evaluation, completing your work and then sitting down with your client and typically going through the work and discussing where he feels you may be a little bit off, either high or low, and you vice versa to his opinions is what they feel. But being able to achieve or come to a consensus on value, and at times what's most rewarding is before you even sit down and talk or say something, they say, we read your report, we don't have a lot of questions, we don't have a lot of critiques, we just maybe want to talk to you about a couple of things in terms of how it's worded. It's the culmination of 22 years of being in the industry and gaining the respect of your peers and gaining the respect of the industry, that if I want to know something or I need to know something, I can make literally half a dozen phone calls, and with my contacts in the industry, I'll get the answer to that question. And that's one of the privileges as an appraiser you have, because in the brokerage community, the exchange of information between brokers obviously isn't that great, because they're competing for the same dollar in terms of the sale of an asset. So they're not going to transfer knowledge or information between themselves. A lot of the owners or landlords aren't going to be forthcoming to a lot of people in terms of what their plans are, what they want to do, or how much they're willing to pay for an asset publicly, because then that would tip off brokers and other people as to what their strategies are. But being able to call those people and getting a confidential insight as to where they feel the market is on a certain asset, or where they feel the market is in general, to give myself a sense of where the market is, or give me a bearing as to where I think the market's going. I think that's critical, and I think that's one of the things that my clients have come to rely upon, is when they ask me a question, they ask it with the full knowledge, understanding of the background and the related information I have based on the work I've done in the market, that it's going to be a relatively insightful answer. Work-life balance is one of the things that I think we've tried to create that sense of balance in our company. We've developed programs internally. One is, we call it EPIC, where actually the employee can take extended time off if they achieve satisfactory performance reviews over a period of time. They can double their vacation time. In fact, they can even achieve 2 to 3 week bonus if they go to work for a nonprofit group, or they want to spend their vacation or their holiday working in a third world country or helping with third world projects. One of our senior directors right now, Paul Fish, is in Africa, Sierra Leone, working with the International Monetary Fund, developing a taxation base so the IMF can actually fund these small cities or towns in Africa for infrastructure needs, building roads and sewer treatment plants and wells. So we encourage that. We also encourage our employees to take their full allotted weekly vacation time. We actually sent a reminder out this week that if people do have vacation time before the end of the year, they should make sure they get it in, because it's running out. And we have a lot of inter-office activities. We do things socially. We create an office atmosphere where people enjoy coming to work. And for those people who have families, women, men who want to stay at home or have to stay at home a day or two and take care of their children, we've got a fully accessible network where people can log in remotely from their computers at home and literally it's as if they were sitting at their desk working from their computer, and so they don't really have to be in the office that day. They can actually work from home, and that's fine. We understand that there's pressures in life. Sometimes there's doctor's appointments, or kids are sick, you know, there are things that have to be taken care of. And in our office, we're kind of fortunate. The senior directors are all at that stage in their life where they can appreciate and understand that, because they all have young families. And we fully encourage people, if there's family needs that come first, and you know, you have to stay home one day, and you know, that's not an issue.